Good morning. It's Sunday morning, so therefore it's a Sunday thought. And I have one piece of hair just sticking up. Oh, well, isn't that the way sometimes? So I had an interesting day yesterday. First of all, I went to, and actually it was a Friday afternoon. It wasn't yesterday. It was Friday afternoon. I went to a movie called Devotion. Now, I'd read a little bit about it, and I knew it was set in the Korean War or around the Korean War. And as they called it, the Forgotten War. And there was something in it that I thought I would enjoy, in the sense it was about relationships. And I'm always interested in perceptions and things people say about relationships. And well, at the end of it, I had certainly had tears. It was about two pilots. One was a black man who had to fight his way to be a pilot, and all he ever wanted to do was to fly. Everybody else in the squad was white, but his other complements of black, I always have to be careful on how I say things here. Black people were, the soldiers on the aircraft carrier. Anyway, no, the crewmen, sorry, not soldiers, the crewmen. Anyway, what it was, the new fellow comes in, who is his partner and wingman, as they called it. And there was a lot of things that happened, and the main character died. And I probably shouldn't say that. I don't like to give away things, but that was part of it. And his friend, his wingman who had come on, who was a white man, and they had formed through time, not a lot of time, but sometimes a very close bond. And it was at times very nerve-wracking. War is never easy. I don't care where it is, where it's you're stuck at home and your mate's away. And I know today both men and women go out into the war zones. But Korean War reminded me a lot, just at the little bit we're looking at what went on in World War I, when men were in trenches and living in mud and everything else. But these guys were living in freezing cold weather. And often these particulars are looked over. But the name of the movie is what had got me, was Devotion. Devotion is something that many of us have in relation to our spirituality, to our sense of who we are. We have devotion to family, to friends, to, as I said, our spirituality, whichever way it goes, because there's many ways that can go. And from this whole thing within the devotion was two strangers come together from very different backgrounds, and a devotion between the two of them came about. And especially on one man's point of view, and what goes on in there is heartwarming and touching. Now, I had seen that on Saturday. Yesterday afternoon, I sat down to watch a movie on Netflix, and because I was out shopping and I came home and I was freezing cold. It was very cold out there, and it's snow on the ground this morning again. Very early for us to even get snow, and here we are again having snow. But anyhow, that's beside the point. The point was, I sat down to watch this movie because it was called Swimmers, and apparently in the Toronto Film Festival, it had a 4-minute of applauding at the end. It was a grasping movie, and it was a lot to do with two girls who were swimmers getting out of Syria when the bombs were falling and making their way to Germany. But what a journey. Oh my goodness. You hear the stories about the refugees, and there's been in the last few years, the refugees that have come from different countries, war countries that had civil unrest. But you really don't have an idea of what they're going through, because you don't really have anything that relates. This movie has you right in the journey, how hard it is, leaving family, moving off into the unknown, meeting other people that you know and may make friends with, and being separated, having people taking your money to help you get from this point to that point, and not really fulfilling what they say. How this one girl had a dream of being in the Rio Olympics, so she was a really good swimmer, and what she did and how she had to do to get there, and what happened within the family, what happens with her and her sister, her friend, and her cousin. It was, yeah, definitely tears again. Honestly, it makes you aware. That's the one thing I love about movies, is it makes you aware of something more. Here you had here a different type of devotion, and that's why I called this section really about devotion, because they had a devote. These two sisters had a not a pretty tenuous at times, but a devotion to each other. But this one girl had a devotion to her goal, which was to be in the Olympics. You know, we have things that we want and we don't think we could ever get them. But as a physician, I teach that if you want something really enough and willing to give up certain things, you will have that brought to you. And I'm not here to go on about all the belief systems. I do that enough on Wednesdays. But I do suggest often we can draw inspiration from movies, from other people's experiences, where we get to see a bigger picture and understand more things that happen and take on and go to places. And I usually like to leave on a Sunday note giving a question to think about. Where is your devotion? Family, friends, your philosophies? I'm quite devoted to my philosophies. I'm definitely devoted to my family, which is small here, but a big one in New Zealand. They are important to me, and they are what I would call very close to my heart, even though I'm not there in person. Devotion. I hope there's devotion in your life. I hope there's things that you are devoted to. I hope you do things that create and work towards that inner element that gives you strength in life and devotion that you want to see. Well, just a side note, this morning I certainly have devotion. I have I have a PVR on my TV, so I'm watching a lot of sports often that are recorded in the morning. I have woken up early because Canada was playing in the Davis Cup this morning. So I recorded it and sat when I first got up, woke up, bang, oh, the tennis is on. But also, our Canadian soccer team is playing in the World Cup. I still have yet to watch that. That was recording when I moved over here to go there. So I will find the results of that and the other. But for the first time, Canada actually won the Davis Cup, beating Australia. And so, yeah, I'm devoted to my sports, my tennis, my soccer, mainly, but often other things as well. I'm also devoted to movies, and this is a movie review within my A Sunday Thought. You have a great Sunday. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye now.